Welcome to the Betting Pros PGA Podcast. I'm Pat Fitzmaurice here with my good buddy Beau McBrayer. The PGA Tour's California swing continues this week with the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. This is an elevated event, so we will be treated to some of the best players in the world playing one of the most iconic courses in the United States. On today's show, we will start with a quick recap of the Farmers Insurance Open. Then we'll give you a full betting preview of the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. We'll share our early betting cards with you, and then we'll make our one-and-done picks at the end of the show. Beau, when they played the U.S. Open at Torrey Pines in 2021, Jon Rahm won with a score of 6 under par. This past week at Torrey Pines, Harris English won with a score of 8 under par, and one of those rounds was played on the easier Torrey Pines North course, although not playing particularly easy in the second round. And really nothing was easy for 3 of the 4 rounds at the Farmers Insurance Open. We had much windier weather in La Jolla, California than we're used to. We even had a wind delay during the second round. The greens at Torrey Pines were firm and hard to hold. How difficult was Torrey Pines? Well, Ludvig Aberg, one of the best young players in the world, opened with a 9 under par 63 on the North course to grab the tournament lead after one round. Aberg finished 3 over par for the tournament. Now, in fairness, he did get sick during the tournament and clearly wasn't himself the last 2 rounds, but things were tough out there. Harris English played some boring golf in the final round. He parred his last 12 holes, shooting a final round 73 to win by a stroke over Sam Stevens, who made a valiant charge in the final round with a 68, the lowest score of the day. But Stevens made a critical mistake on the 72nd hole. He dumped his second shot on the par 5 18th into the pond in front of the green. A birdie would have gotten him into a playoff, but he had to settle for a par. This was the 5th PGA Tour win for English, who went off at either 100-1 or 110-1, depending on which book you were looking at. He's a grinder, and Harris English scrambled his rear end off for a hard-earned victory. Beau, what did you think of this year's bare knuckles version of the Farmers Insurance Open?
Yeah, I definitely considered scrambling in my model. Unfortunately, I didn't consider scrambling in ridiculous conditions, which took everything down to the bare knuckles, like you said. A couple of high risers were there. We're going to see a lot more Aldrich Potgieter in the future, the bomber out of South Africa. There's a lot of great young players in that field, despite a flu going around in SoCal that knocked out half of the great field that we were expecting. Everybody got the flu. Ludvig is the only one that really hung in there and gutted it out, quite literally. And he played terribly, but at least he finished. As far as Harris English, he's a grinder, and that's about all I can say. The only stats that he actually was in the top 20 in my model was scrambling and being able to be just not make bogeys. So that was the kind of the calling card of this year's Farmers Insurance Open was Harris English goes from 100-1 and 140th in my model to his 4th PGA Tour victory and his first since 2019, I think, 2020. Yeah, he hasn't won since COVID year. It's for good reason. He's played pretty terribly most of the last 4 years, and it was good to see him get one. But it was so out of left field. I commend the ones that somehow had a betting slip with his name on it, because I have no idea where they got that information.
Yeah, worth remembering. I know he said in the interview immediately after the round that he likes tough conditions and likes it where it's not a birdie fest and you have to grind it out. But again, as you said, Beau, even knowing that it was maybe going to be breezy the last couple of days, I don't think we had any indication that Harris English was going to put together 4 rounds like this. So, but good on him. Now, we will get to this week's event in a moment, but first,
download the free Betting Pros app for iOS and Android. With Sportsbook Sync, you can automatically track your bets across all major sportsbooks in one spot. Easily monitor your bet performance by sport and bet type, including game picks, props, and parlays. Create custom betting systems to find winning trends and profitable opportunities. Get a free trial of Betting Pros Premium by downloading the app and activating your trial on the upgrade screen.
And now we head up the California coast for the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. As mentioned earlier, this is an elevated event, a signature event, which means a smaller field of 80 players and no cut. There used to be a three-course rotation for the first three rounds of this event, but the PGA Tour's powers that be wisely removed Monterey Peninsula Country Club from the rotation. Now everyone will rotate between Pebble Beach and Spyglass Hill for the first two rounds, with everyone playing Pebble the last two rounds. Spyglass Hill, a short course by PGA Tour standards. It's a par 72 measuring 7,041 yards, but it's not an easy course like Pebble Beach. Spyglass has some small, hard to hold, hard to hit greens. Beau, I wish we got to see more of Spyglass during the tournament. We get some coverage on television of Spyglass, but not as much as we should. The first five holes, just beautiful. They have an ocean view. The first hole is a very cool par 5 downhill. The third and fifth holes are gorgeous par 3s with the ocean as a backdrop. And the fourth hole is a gem. But we don't get to see the 10th at Riviera this year because the Genesis has been forced to move from Riviera to Torrey Pines. But if you like that narrow, skinny little green on the 10th at Riviera, you're going to like the fourth at Spyglass. It's a dogleg left where you cannot miss left. And your second shot is into an incredibly narrow green. I think it might be even more narrow than the 10th at Riviera. Then starting with hole 6, you head back inland and suddenly you're playing in a tree-lined parkland-style course. There's less of a difference in difficulty between Pebble and Spyglass Hill than there is between, say, Torrey Pines South and Torrey Pines North. Spyglass might be a little bit easier than Pebble Beach, but there won't be that big a difference in scoring average between the two courses, most likely in the first two rounds. And then we have the iconic Pebble Beach golf links measuring at 6,972 yards. This par 72 layout is the second shortest course on the tour's schedule, behind only TPC River Highlands, and I think that's a par 71. But Pebble, no pushover, because it has the smallest greens on the PGA Tour, and those greens are POA, that inscrutable putting surface that vexes so many of the best putters in the world. There are a bunch of classic holes at Pebble Beach, the par 5 18th hole along the coast, the 7th hole, that tiny little downhill 106-yard par 3 with the Pacific Ocean as a backdrop, the par 3 17th with its kidney-shaped green. The 8th and 9th holes are outstanding par 4s. Pebbles is just a gorgeous layout. Now, the pros are going to keep the driver in the bag on a lot of these par 4s. There are a bunch of forced layups here where you're just trying to get your tee shot in a position where you have a good angle of approach into the green. Wedge play is going to be critical this week. A lot of the approach shots here are going to come from 150 yards and in. The weather forecast, always important to monitor for this event because not always the best weather on the peninsula this time of year, and we could get a soggy weekend. On Thursday and Friday, we should have dry but chilly conditions with temperatures in the mid to upper 50s, light winds of anywhere from about 5 to 10 miles an hour. On Saturday and Sunday, there's showers in the forecast both days with winds of 10 to 15 miles an hour Saturday, 5 to 10 on Sunday. The defending champion is Wyndham Clark. He put on a remarkable final round putting display last year, shooting a course record 12 under par round of 60. He finished minus 17 and beat Ludvig Aberg in last year's weather-shortened event. They only played 54 holes. Justin Rose here won in 2023 with a score of 18 under par. Tom Hoge won here in 2022, finishing 19 under. Daniel Berger was the champ in 2021, finishing 18 under. Beau, your overall impressions of the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am?
My favorite tournament on the whole calendar. This is a tournament that my dad took me to when I was a high schooler, junior high, a young golfer. I got to see Phil Mickelson play here, Tiger Woods, Vijay Singh. The first course we went to when I was making my first appearance at the Pebble Beach Pro-Am, we saw a group with Vijay Singh and Phil Mickelson and Ahmad Rashad, main man Ahmad Rashad, on the first hole at Spyglass Hill. And that course, when the wind is up a little bit, is tougher than Pebble Beach. The tree line really throws people off. Lots of forced layups on both courses. The rough at Spyglass is more penal because of the trees being everywhere. Pebble Beach, if the weather stays dry, is going to be a little bit tougher. But they're both extremely easy. Like last year, when there's a little bit of rain to soften these greens up, because if these greens get a little crusty with Poana, how small they are, you're going to be narrowing the field to a very select few accurate golfers with a wedge in their hand. And I don't really think that driving accuracy plays a whole lot into this, because most of these, even the bombers, are going to leave the driver in the bag so often. Right off the first tee at Pebble Beach, you will not see a wood hit. It'll be 4-iron, 5-iron hybrids. Just put the ball in the fairway, because if you're off in the rough at Pebble Beach, that's it. You got no chance. The greens are too small. You have too much coastline. And you didn't mention number 6, which is my favorite hole at Pebble Beach, the uphill par 5 on the cliffs, the one where Tiger hit that iconic 7-iron over the trees, up the hill, onto the fringe, into from the right rough, which is supposed to be dead on that hole. Unbelievable golf course from 1 to 18. I still think Spyglass has a chance to be a little tougher during the first 2 days if the wind picks up. But I'm absolutely geeked for this week's tournament. Shout out NorCal. This is our championship, and we get to put it on showcase every single year, and about every 5 years at the US Open. Pebble Beach is the 101 of golf courses in the whole world, in my opinion.
Yeah, let's just pray we don't get any sort of weather delay with the forecast Saturday and
Last
Sunday.
year's they called last year's storm a 500-year storm, so I think we're safe.
Yeah, let's hope. Although we have seen this event shortened before in years past, things can get a little dicey, but hopefully we get all 4 rounds in. And the great thing, Bo, with this being a signature event, getting a field of this caliber out there,
Ooh,
because
baby.
there was a long time, like if you look at the tournament histories of some of the top players, there were spans of 5, 6, 7 years where some of these veteran studs just skip this thing entirely. And I suspect that's because it's a pro-am. I don't think the top guys love the pro-ams. And, maybe like having the 3-course rotation was not all that appealing to them either. So,
It's a little different. Back in the 90s when I was going, or late 90s, early 2000s, the only reason Tiger didn't go the first year I went was because he had knee surgery. But back in those days, I'm old enough to remember when Poppy Hills was in the rotation instead of Monterey Peninsula. Peninsula was a terrible golf course for this tournament, and that's the reason why a lot of people just didn't go, because one of the rounds is a complete crapshoot on basically a muni course that is private. Just there's no appeal to that golf course. Poppy Hills is 10 times the golf course the Monterey Peninsula was, but they just couldn't keep up with the crowd size. The Poppy Hills property is tiny. So I love the way that they're going here with the signature event, 80 men, no cut, and just the 2 best courses in the area. Spyglass and Pebble, that's the only 2 courses we care about anyway. And now that we get Scottie Scheffler back, let's go.
Yeah, let's take a look at the odds for the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. All odds courtesy of DraftKings as of Monday morning. Let's begin with the favorites. And you said it, Bo. Scottie Scheffler is back. He missed the early part of the 2025 schedule with a hand injury sustained in a Christmas cooking mishap. Scheffler opens with very short odds of 4-1 right out of the gates. Rory Mcllroy is 11-1. Justin Thomas and Colin Morikawa are both 14-1. Ludvig Aberg, hopefully feeling better, 16-1. Patrick Cantlay is 20-1. Hideki Matsuyama, 25-1. Sungjae Im, 28-1. Tommy Fleetwood, 30-1. And Sam Burns, Jason Day, and Viktor Hovland all check in at 35-1. Anyone you like from this group, Bo?
This guy named Scott Scheffler from Texas, he's pretty good. And with his first appearance on tour in 2025, he comes the first mention of live betting Scottie Scheffler. 4-1 is very short, but the guy's been winning all sorts of tournaments. He's basically a 25% chance to win every time he tees it up. So I get it if you're betting 4-1. I'd rather see him slip 5, 6, 7-1 or even further with a slow start on Thursday. But if that doesn't happen, 4-1's fine, because this is these 2 golf courses are both set up to be exactly what sets Scottie Scheffler apart. Put the ball in the fairway, and nobody, and I mean 0 people in this world, on this planet, are better with a short iron in their hand than Scottie Scheffler. 0. He is the best in the world at what this golf course demands. And even if he's a little off with his iron play, which I do not expect because it's Scottie Scheffler, he's got a world-class short game, which is also required here. Strokes gained around the green, par 5 scoring. This guy's got it in spades. So I'm going to start with Scottie. Hopefully I'll put more money on him if he starts a little slow. But my main guy that I'm betting on the most is Justin Thomas. JT is going to have a really good year, and this is the first salvo to his season, picking up with a golf course that, again, like Scottie Scheffler, is set up for Justin Thomas to be a stellar play at 14-1. Yeah, 14-1 for him is crazy. Patrick Cantlay maybe has the best course history here of anybody in the field, and he's at 18-1. He's played like hot garbage the last year, but again, nobody putts on Poana better than Patrick Cantlay. And again, a guy who just seems to grind it out a little bit better than the rest of the field. I think Patrick's a better play if we start to see a little bit less or more weather in the forecast. So if you see a little bit of wind, a little bit of rain in the forecast, I'm going to be leaning into Patrick Cantlay because he's got the experience to back up the money that we're going to put behind him.
Yeah, and Justin Thomas, who you mentioned, comes in with a little bit of momentum. He was second at the American Express. He finished 6th here last year. Patrick Cantlay, he's finished 11th or better in his last 4 AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Ams. That includes a third and a 4th. He's a California native. He finished 5th at the Amex 2 weeks ago. And as you said, Beau, his putting stats on POA greens are pretty special.
So he's the only player in this field to never miss the cut at Pebble Beach. Minimum 5 appearances. He's never missed the cut in 15 appearances here. And with no cut this week, that's going to continue.
Yeah, this course does suit him, though. I mean, he does have an excellent track record. Rory McIlroy has not really fared well in this event. His best finish was a 66th, although he did finish 9th when the U.S. Open was played here in 2019. Jason Day, should we talk about him, Beau? I mean, he's kind of a horse for the course. He's finished top 25 in each of his last 10 trips to Pebble Beach, including that tie for a tie for 21st at that U.S. Open in 2019. He's finished in the top 7 times over that stretch. Day finished 3rd at the Amex 2 weeks ago, but he is coming off a rough weekend at Torrey Pines.
Yeah, he's still playing really well. I think the weather got the best of him, even though he was dressed to kill last week at Torrey Pines. The best wardrobe I've seen on a professional golfer since Fuzzy Zeller. That's how good Jason Day looked last week. His game on Sunday, atrocious, cost me a lot of money and one and done. We'll get to that. But J Day at Pebble Beach is like peanut butter and jelly. And yeah, there's no reason not to bet him on a top 10 or a top 20. I don't know if he can win here with this field, but he's playing well enough to do it.
What about Viktor Hovland? So he won the U.S. Amateur Match Play here at Pebble Beach in 2018. And
That's a long time ago, Pat. That's a long time ago.
It is a long time ago, quite a while. But, just establishing the fact that he has had a little bit of success here. Any interest in him with the prerequisite of precision iron play?
Yeah, I don't like his short game here. So if he is striking the ball like he has the last 6 months or so, then I'm not interested. But what's getting me is that he's down to 35-1, and Viktor Hovland is much too talented to ever be that deep on the betting list. So 35-1 intrigues me. I just don't know that I like him that much, but with 35-1 means I can also throw a top 10 out there with pretty decent odds of paying off. I don't know if I can see him winning, but 35 is tempting. That's a huge number for a guy of his caliber.
That's where I'm at. And normally, even in a signature event, you're going to get Hovland at like around 20-1, 35-1.
4 rounds of Viktor on a course that demands iron play.
Yes.
It seems nice.
Yes, it does. Now, before we get to the mid-range options, help shape the Betting Pros podcast. Take our quick, easy survey at bettingpros.com/survey and share your feedback to help us improve. All it takes is just a minute or two. Again, go to bettingpros.com/survey. Now for the mid-range betting options at the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. After pulling out of the Farmers last week, Will Zalatoris is 40 to 1 at Pebble. Keegan Bradley, Jordan Spieth, Corey Connors, and defending champ Wyndham Clark are all 45 to 1. Tom Kim and Taylor Pendrith are 50 to 1. We have a big group at 55 to 1 that includes Sahith Theegala, Robert McIntyre, Max Grazerman, Rasmus Højgaard, Maverick McNeely, Tony Finau, Ben An, and Sepp Straka. And at 60 to 1 are Russell Henley, Beau Hossler, Adam Scott, and Shane Lowry. Beau, who should we like from this group?
Hey, right off the top, you got Keegan, you got Jordan Spieth, who's always fared well at Pebble Beach. Too bad Jordan Spieth's form has been awful the last 2 years. We haven't seen the real Jordan Spieth, so I'm not in on Spieth quite yet, even though Pebble Beach does intrigue me because he's done so well here over the years. I'm probably going to start with Shane Lowry at 60 to 1. That's a crazy number again for a guy of his talent, especially if that weather does not cooperate for the field. Is Shane Lowry, the north coast of California, not unlike Ireland. It's always windy, it's always wet, and it's always chilly. It's even in the dead of summer, you'll freeze your butt off on the Northern California coast. This is a golf course that I think Shane Lowry will feel right at home at, and 60 to 1 is kind of disrespectful, to be honest. I'm looking at that number just going, what did he do to these odds makers? Because that doesn't make any sense. He's playing well. We've seen the best Shane Lowry over the last year and a half. I think he's going to excel here. And with those odds outright, I don't have to invest a lot in him. But except for top 5 and top 10 numbers are looking really good too. Shane Lowry is a huge circle around on my betting slip.
Yeah, when the temperature isn't going to touch 60 degrees
No,
in any of the 4 rounds. And guys are going to be walking around in rain gear. That is Shane Lowry weather. And by the way, he's fared pretty well in the strokes gained at Pebble Beach stats. So yeah, he looks really good. You mentioned Keegan Bradley, Beau, 45 to 1. He's finished top 15 in each of the 3 events he's played this year, and he was 11th here a year ago. I'm kind of interested in Beau Hossler. He's finished top 15 in each of the last 2 weeks, and he finished top 15 in each of his last 3 trips to Pebble, including a 3rd in 2022. What about long shots, Beau? Anyone with odds of 65 to 1 or longer who stands out to you?
Hot golfers stay hot, especially when the courses are similar. Nick Taylor, 65 to 1. I'm got another big circle around him. I'm willing to go as low as 55 to 1 on Nick Taylor. This dude is a grinder, and this is another course where he can grind his way all the way to the finish. I have a couple more here. Gary Woodland is another Pebble Beach specialist at 110 to 1. He's been striking the ball extremely well, and he's another guy that excels on Poana greens more than any other surface. And then we got Brian Harman, who I don't even like watching play golf. He's excruciating to watch play golf. He's extremely hard to like. Basically the most unlikable golfer outside of Zach Johnson on tour, in my opinion. But him getting 150 to 1 on a golf course that fits his game as perfectly as Pebble Beach and Spyglass, that just doesn't make any sense to me. 151 for Brian Harman that's about the point where I'm going to have to actually root for the guy. And then another guy who is another Pebble Beach specialist, prior winner here a couple of years ago, Seamus Power, the Irishman, 150 to 1. He's too good of a putter and too good of an iron player for that to. I mean, he's number 2 in this field in that number 1 approach bucket from 125 to 150. He's number 3 on strokes gained par 5. And he's just solid across the board. Seamus Power comes in at 12th in my model at 150 to 1. I am all over that.
Yeah, and you mentioned Gary Woodland finished 5th at the AT&T Pebble Beach in 2017. And oh, by the way, won the U.S. Open here in 2019. And getting him at 110 to 1, yes, please. Tom Hoge won here in 2022. 6th here last year, 12th in 2021. Hoge led the tour last year in proximity to the hole on approach shots from 125 to 150 yards, a key distance here. 3rd in proximity on approach shots from 50 to 125 yards, and he's going off at 80 to 1. I'm going to have some Tom Hoge. Denny McCarthy, 75 to 1. His 3 most recent finishes at the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am, 12th, 4th, and 26th. And how about Justin Rose, Beau, at 150 to 1? He won here 2 years ago in 2023, was 11th here last year. That's just too, I don't know. Those are odds far too long, I think, for a player like Justin Rose on a course he has shown an aptitude for. All right, Beau, let's get to our early betting cards. Who are you betting as of now?
So I'm going to live bet Scottie Scheffler. I'm going to bet right off the bat Justin Thomas at 14-1, Patrick Cantlay at 18-1. And then I'm going to do some top 10 and top 20 work with some small outrights on Shane Lowry and Nick Taylor. And we're going to throw out a couple dollars for outrights and top 20s on Gary Woodland, Brian Harman, and Seamus Power.
You mentioned outrights on Cantlay. You got 18-1. I grabbed him a little earlier at 20-1. I saw that had changed just before we came on with this show. I'm also betting Viktor Hovland outright at 35-1 and Shane Lowry outright at 60-1. I'm taking Beau Hossler at 60-1 with the top 5 kicker at 9-1. Tom Hoge at 80-1 with it is. Tom Hoge is 80-1 with the top 10 kicker at plus 550. I'm taking Denny McCarthy top 5 at 11-1 and top 10 at plus 450. And I've gotten outright on Justin Rose at 150-1. Couldn't help myself. Now for the one and done competition. We're only 4 events into the new year, and I have already managed to pick 2 cut missers. I had Tony Finau last week. Normally a Torrey Pines ace. Tony Finau and his high ball flight did not fare especially well in a windier than usual version of the Farmers Insurance Open. Beau, you originally had Will Zalatoris. After he withdrew, you pivoted to Jason Day. He finished tied for 32nd, earning you $52,080. But as you mentioned, he was in position for a much bigger payday and slid down the leaderboard over the weekend. You select first. Who are you taking at Pebble Beach?
I'm going to take the advantage of going first this week and take Patrick Cantlay right off the board for you.
Yeah, I can't blame you for that one. I do think he is a great play here. All right,
I just hope he does well on the weekend, because making cuts but not really paying off isn't really giving me as much of a lead as I was hoping with missing 2 of the first 4 cuts. I really don't have that big of an edge.
I know, and we get the signature event this week. So with a big week, I could close ground in a hurry. And Beau, just to spite you, since he did you no favors last week, I'm going to try Jason Day this week on a course where he has traditionally fared quite well. And, that's really going to stick it to you if, he did poorly for you and does great for me. So
he played like he had the flu whenever, like the guy I had first, Will Zalatoris, had the flu, and everybody else had the flu. Jason Day played like he had the flu. He looked good, though. He looked so good out there in his Malbon gear.
Hopefully his sartorial presence is equally impressive this week. And that's going to do it for this week's Betting Pros PGA Podcast. We will be back next week with a preview of the always fun, always rowdy Waste Management Phoenix Open. Until then, so long, everyone.